Welcome back to the World Trade Webcast. Our guest this week is Charles Dittrich, Vice President of Regional Trade Initiatives for the National Foreign Trade Council. We're talking about the policy implications of the midterm elections on the nation's international trade agenda. And today, we're going to talk more about the outlook for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, an ambitious trade agreement that the United States is negotiating with 11 other countries throughout the Asia-Pacific region, and look at the implications of some of the other free trade agreements that are on the horizon, as well as free trade agreements that are now in effect. So Chuck, maybe we could start by talking about how important it is for the United States to implement the free trade agreement in Asia-Pacific and why.
Well, first, it's most important to close it and conclude it, and then get a vote up from Congress before we can implement it. But it's the future. It's the next century. It's the next chapter in growth and integration. And quite frankly, the Asia-Pacific region is moving in this direction with or without us. And what the Obama administration has taken up that the previous administration had started was a recognition that they were going to join together with the most ambitious countries in this region to craft the highest standard of agreement, the agreement that is the most balanced, the most ambitious, and focuses on being able to do business. So without it, we're left behind.
Well, and hopefully we will see it move forward on something of a fast track over the next year. We also talked earlier in the week about the free trade agreement with Europe, and perhaps you could talk a little bit more about that agreement and why that's so important for the United States.
You know, if you notice, the acronym for the European negotiation is a little different, and I think that reflects the level of sophistication and how advanced the European Union is. And if you think in the past who the U.S. negotiated some trade agreements with, whether it be a smaller country like Morocco or Colombia, the negotiation with the European Union is really symmetrical. It's it's a large economy, one of the largest economies in the world, talking directly to the other largest economy. And the combined strength of the transatlantic economy is going to create synergies and leapfrog the benefits of business. And so that's why it's not a traditional trade agreement. It's not just removing tariffs and enforcing rules. It's rewriting rules. It's thinking of how we can write rules in common. It's not going to lower any standards. The European standards will be as important and as thorough as they ever have been. And in some cases, they'll be improved because in many cases, the United States has stricter standards for product safety, for environment, than exists for phytosanitary and phytosanitary aspects of agriculture. And so what it's going to do is it's going to harmonize. It's instead of having to have two regulatory regimes that a company has to focus on, it's going to be able to move towards one common thing. So companies can focus where their talents lie, and that's in doing their business and building their technologies and products.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if it was one world, one framework?
Well, we're, with or without Congress or without each other, it's moving in that direction. Frankly, if the WTO, my preference and most of Washington and the international trade policy community, our preference would be not to have to negotiate any of these bilateral or regional trade agreements, that we would do everything multilaterally through the WTO. And that's still our commitment. But in the meantime, I think each system plays off of each other. That when the WTO, we saw how the Doha round has stalled. When that happens, you're going to see the rise in regional and what the alternatives are. But at the end of the day, they're all doing the same thing. And it's harmonizing regulations, opening markets, removing barriers, creating jobs, transferring technology for all of us.
Excellent, excellent overview. So if you could, in a word or two, just give marching orders to the President and Congress for the next 2 years in the context of trade policy, what do you say?
Well, I would say the only marching orders that I think would have value is to tell the Congress to listen to its experts, because there are brilliant minds on trade policy and economics and regulatory systems in Congress, and they're engaged in this negotiation. And the same with not only the president, but across the board, we're seeing a trade negotiation with Europe that involves the FDA. It involves agencies that had traditionally focused on domestic regulation. And for the first time, they're looking at how those domestic regulations are impacting global business. And that's a powerful thing.
Well, I think that's sage advice. And Chuck, thank you so much for joining us this week and for your insights on the trade policy issues that we're seeing in Washington and how that impacts the nation's economy.
Greg, thank you. I really appreciated the chance.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you, and we'll look forward to hopefully having you back again next year.
Anytime.
Excellent. And please join us on Monday as the World Trade Webcast continues. For our latest schedule of upcoming episodes, subscribe to us with any of the links below and bookmark this page. All of our previous webcasts can be found online at thinkglobal.com/webcast. Thanks for watching, and Chuck, thanks again.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.